Hi and welcome back. It is election season again. Candidates shout at each other during TV debates, interrupt, accuse, even fight. They promise incredible prosperity, justice and greatness. If you only vote for them. And for some unclear reason, we believe them. We know most candidates are not exactly saints. We know many are habitual liars. Journalists regularly remind us of their affairs, corruption schemes, rude behaviour, and complete lack of basic decency. But we shrug. So what? He will make us great again. Never mind that he never explains what this greatness actually means. Never mind that we never even ask. But who cares? To be great. That already sounds great. Many of our decisions are built on a few very stable misunderstandings. We confuse arrogance with power. We confuse loudness with leadership. We confuse lack of human principles with strength. And then we act surprised by the results. No wonder we often choose people you would never hire to take care of your dog or babysit your child, yet somehow they end up holding the nuclear button. So what is going on? Why do we keep choosing the wrong people? We all agree that the world desperately needs stability, cooperation, disarmament, and long-term thinking. And yet again and again, we select leaders whose entire political programme is built on domination, rivalry, separation, and the oppression of someone. Minorities, neighbours, allies, whoever is available. Why do the biggest, most powerful countries on earth so often end up with leaders who would never win awards for empathy, humility, or emotional stability? Take a look at the current leaders of so-called great countries. Do they represent peace, harmony, cooperation, a genuine search for the common good? No. Their strategy is almost always the same: domination, influence, and competition for resources. Everyone for themselves. Short-term wins. Permanent tension. Instead of strong leaders, I often see the opposite. Deeply insecure people, psychologically fragile, easily offended, obsessed with image, control, and self-enrichment. People who react instead of reflect, who escalate instead of stabilise. Ask yourself a very simple question. Would you want such a person as close friend? Someone who is never open, never vulnerable, always calculating, always ready to trade you for personal benefit, or, as they like to call it, for the best of all. Look what research on leaders actually says. Psychological research does not claim that all leaders are psychopaths, but it does reveal something uncomfortable. Studies in organisational psychology show that traits associated with psychopathy are significantly overrepresented in managerial and leadership positions compared to the general population. Traits such as superficial charm, lack of empathy, manipulativeness, grandiosity, fearlessness, emotional coldness. In everyday life, these traits are destructive. You wouldn't expect harmony in a neighbourhood populated by people like this. But in politics, we often interpret the same traits as positives. Coldness becomes rationality. Manipulation becomes strategy. Fearlessness becomes strength. Especially in systems that reward winning over wisdom. So it's not surprising that the more powerful the position, the more influence it gives, the more attention it attracts. The more appealing it becomes to power-seeking personalities. Not the wisest or the most balanced, but the most driven to dominate. What is surprising is that we keep preferring them, even though history repeatedly shows us that they mostly produce more chaos. Think about how you hire for an ordinary job. When I applied for mine, I went through 3 rounds of interviews. I solved case studies, presented data. They called 6 referees. I had to demonstrate emotional balance, clear thinking, respect for colleagues, ability to cooperate, and ethical judgment. Grand speeches didn't help. Attacking competitors would have disqualified me instantly. But when it comes to hiring someone for the most powerful position in a country, a role that demands wisdom, responsibility, and long-term vision, we assess candidates by their dominance, entourage, and theatrical speeches. Intellectual depth rarely matters. Self-control rarely matters. There are presidents of great countries who struggle with basic concepts, misuse words, misunderstand cultures, and barely navigate global geopolitics. And yet this somehow feels acceptable. It's as if the main qualification for the job is not wisdom, but the ability to bulldoze your way to the top over the bodies of your opponents. And we've normalised this. So let's imagine this logic applied to a company. The head of marketing constantly promises to make the company great again. No concrete strategy, no data, and becomes deeply offended whenever someone asks for details. The head of strategy is obsessed with competitors, forming alliances. Every cooperation is seen as a threat. His solution? Hostile takeovers, sanctions, destruction. And somewhere deep in the archive department, a manager regularly threatens nuclear destruction if he doesn't get more budget and better food in the cafeteria. Meanwhile, departments fight each other. No one shares information. Everyone protects their own interests, and the CEO calls this strength. Would you work in such a company? Would you invest in it? Would you expect it to survive long term? Of course not. Yet when it comes to nations and global politics, we applaud exactly this behaviour and call it realism. So why does this keep happening? Why do we never really learn from history? Why do we see global patterns clearly, but remain blind when it comes to our own choices? Because deep down, many people don't want leadership. They want relief from responsibility. A strong leader promises, I will fix your life. I will make you great again. I will tell you who is guilty. And he says it with such confidence that it becomes easier to believe in confidence than competence. Much easier to follow certainty than complexity. That's why appearance matters more than actions. Why attractiveness outweighs character. Why arrogance is mistaken for authority. No wonder they love artificial tans, perfect hair, Botox faces. Image becomes policy, but real strength looks very different. A strong leader is not the one who shouts the loudest, not the one who promises greatness, whatever that means. A strong leader is someone who can hold power without losing their humanity. Someone who can tolerate criticism, admit uncertainty, resist ego inflation, think long-term, remain calm in chaos. The strongest leaders rarely call themselves strong, and maybe the most trustworthy ones are those who don't crave the spotlight at all. So perhaps we should reverse our instincts. If someone is desperate to be king, or president, or Nobel laureate, maybe that desperation itself is the warning sign. Because real strength does not beg for applause, and real power does not need to shout. So the next time someone desperately wants to rule us, save us, or make us great, we should pause and ask not what they promise, but what kind of human being needs that much power in the first place.